Oi, oi, it's time for another anti-post suggested bet. Now, I do need to start this episode off with the fact that I did have another anti-post bet last week and I didn't do a video. Terrible person that I am sorry about that. Busy, I guess is all I can say for that one. I do the GG column, right? So every single week on a Tuesday, I write about some performances from the weekend and I'll talk about some stuff for the weekend coming up. And I will put a potential suggested bet in there. Now, another anti-post bet that I put up in the column was Facile Vega and Galopin de Champs in a double back a few weeks. But I didn't put that up on this channel either as a suggested bet. I don't want you to read too much into the fact that I didn't put that up. And then we've now had the same with High Class Hero. But yeah, maybe there is an underlying part of I bet it because I felt like it was the right bet at the time as opposed to sort of confidence. And you guys will know as well, right? I'm sharing my anti-post bets with you guys. There will be other little plays that I'm doing in and around from a timing perspective as well. Maybe I can't really share all that information, but you know, I wanted to be as transparent as I can. When it comes to the big day, I will tell you every single one of my bets for the Cheltenham Festival. So don't worry, there's potentially some bad ones you've missed out on. Maybe, I don't think there's been too many good ones you might have missed out on, but I'm digressing, right? I want to share with you as much as possible. This week's election has full details in that GG column. I'll put a link in the description so you can go read it if you want. But I'm going to try and spitball off the top of my head some of the reasons why I have bet Jetara in the Mares Novices Hurdle. Now, another thing that it doesn't, like, there's nothing wrong with it, just sits a little bit more differently with when I do these videos, is I haven't bet it at the price that I've advised, okay? Jetara I have backed on the exchanges. I'll put up the stake here. I've had 25 quid and I get 440 back, something like that. So probably works out as maybe like 18 to 1 or something. I should be able to do that off the top of my head a little bit better than that. But I'll share the fact that you see I've had the bet on. Obviously betting it on the exchange means I haven't bet it non-runner money back. At the moment, she is a general 12 to 1 shot, but she is 12 to 1 with William Hill. So you can go into shops and you can pretty much have what you want on these anti-post selections if that's the way you want to bet. So the only reason why I'm mentioning that is it is non-runner money back. If you get the same price there as you would get anywhere else, I don't know why you wouldn't take the concession, right? I know we can all be lazy, so you can still get 12 to 1 with your Betfairs or Bet365, I think. With the cash out options in there. But like I say, I'm recommending it as the non-runner money back because why not? We saw what happened with It's For Me. Although strangely, he does have an entry, doesn't he, in the Supreme. Anywho, I'm talking about stuff I don't need to talk about. Jetara, right? I know plenty of you all start to be, I don't want to say lazy, but recency bias. You'll look at the fact that she's been running over the middle trip. You'll look at the fact that she's been running on ground with heavy in the description. And you might look back at last season and think, well, she was well beaten in this race last year. But I don't mind any of those things. Look at the fact that when she first started racing for the yard, good ground, good to yield, and they ran her on in bumpers. So I don't think they've got any reason to not like the ground. She even won her first run. Admittedly, it was over 2 mile 4 on good ground. So the ground isn't a problem for me. It's not necessarily by design, but if you look at the way the weather's been the last couple of years, she's been running every month. She's just been running when the ground has been that way because that's what the ground has been for the majority. Very similar this season. We've had lots of bad, heavy ground, haven't we? So the big thing to note is from this year to last year, yes, the winds have come a little bit further up in trip, and yes, they have come on bad ground. So whichever way you want to pitch it, she's maybe a bit more of a stayer than a speedster. But look at last year, right? She wasn't too far behind High Definition, who, okay, ambiguously achieved an official rating of 150. But the horse was second behind Impere Bar, second best at Punchestown, again, maybe the middle trip. But shows she's got that a bit of ability, and she wasn't far behind Astro Diamond over 2 mile 2. This race is 2 mile 1, the Mares Novices, and we've talked about like potential stayers seem to do all right in it. I don't think she needs the ground to come up bad. She may appreciate it more than others if it does happen. So I feel like we're a bit safe in there, but I don't think the ground's a problem. And I do think she's shown enough of an engine to suggest that she's all right at this trip. I'll go back to that form from last year because she was very keen. Her jumping was bad. It's not great now, but it's not as bad as it was. And even when she ran at Leopardstown, when the ground was yielding, Fairy House, behind Astro Diamond, when she was pulled up, she hung badly left. She hasn't done that since. And that came after the back of Cheltenham, right, where she was well beaten and she was way down the field. So could be that that was a busy campaign. She ran well up until January last year. I don't know what the actual plans are for the rest of the season, but she's not in the Sol Arena this weekend. This is why I think it's the time to strike, right? They may just be going fresh to Cheltenham with her. That may be the key. I don't mind that. I guess a caveat with that would be that she was well beaten behind Brighter Days ahead at the beginning of the season. That was at the same trip, and people would be saying, well, how could she do that? But we'll trust Jessie Harrington, right? She knows how to ready a horse as well as anybody. If she thinks going there fresh is the best thing to do, then I trust and I support that. Yeah, I think she looks all right. The Solarina that I've touched on, there's a few of Willie Mullins that go in there. Jade de Grugy would be the big one. What I've talked about in the column is historically what's happened in this race in terms of figures and what's happened this season in terms of RPR. So she has had plenty of runs being a second season novice, but if you go back and look historically, there's been second season novices that have won this. Even Let's Dance was one, having run over hurdles in France. We do tend to see these horses, apart from the last couple of years, but they seem to have quite a significant time between their first spin over hurdles and when they go and actually win the race. So on average, I think it's 345 days. We know that, most of the horses have multiple runs. There's been 2 winners that have had 2 starts. As I say, Let's Dance was one of those, but both of those horses, right, that had the couple of starts. Maybe Let's Dance wasn't. Anyhow, the horses that have had the 2 starts, I've put it in the column, both made their debuts a long time before, like way before, 300 plus days before. So I think that's another key thing to remember, right? They were April types when they started to make their like first spin over hurdles. But they had 2 runs going into Cheltenham, right? We have had winners that have had 8 and 9 spins over hurdles. The last 4 winners have been 6-year-olds. Now, her RPRs this season, she's posted 141, which is higher than anything else. She's also done a 139 or a 138 to back that up. I think it's a 139. Now, the best anything else has done is a 138. Even you look at Dysart Enos, as much as she's showing capability, she hasn't really come up against anything. I think 129 is her biggest figure. She's running at Doncaster this weekend in a novice hurdle where we will not find out any more about her. We're not going to learn how good she is. And I know they're trying to avoid the penalty, which I guess it's smart, but we're just not going to know enough. And she's instilled as favourite. To date, we haven't seen her go up against a proper one yet. We don't know how she's going to fare in that front. And with the Solarina Mares hurdle, something's got to be pretty eye-catching to go and win that, because it doesn't look the deepest of renewals. Again, I put a list of the figures in the gg.co.uk column, and I don't think I see it. Like, I know Jade de Grugy does look quite nice, but she's the price that she is. Jatara, I think at 12 to 1 is a bit disrespectful, to be honest with you. I don't know how much more she'll shorten. I don't think she's going to be a wise guy one, but let's say the Solarina is a bit of a bunch finish, or we get a bit of a bad result where, I don't know, say like Miss Augusta goes and wins it. All of a sudden that moves that market where people are trying to search for the best of the Irish maybe. Jatara is going to come onto the radar for sure. And it's not going to happen, but Parkin Fine is a horse, I've mentioned this horse before, right, that travelled well enough with Dysart Enos up to the last hurdle, right? This is a bad novice's hurdle. Now, you would expect her to go and canter clear of all of these, but God forbid, imagine she doesn't win or something bad happens. I don't mean bad happens as in she gets hurt or anything. No way, in any way, shape or form am I suggesting that. Just means something bad happens in terms of the fact that she just doesn't win very impressively. And the 129 RPR maybe starts to look a bit more like that could be her ceiling. Just think Jatara, we know that she's got ability. A few runs this season have been good. She's got the tank and the engine in there. I think the 12th one's pretty good. Now's the time to pounce. I know she doesn't run this weekend, but others do. And I just mean if any of those fluff their lines or don't look as impressive as we may be hoping, because they haven't shown anything better than her yet, then like I say, I think she's going to come onto the radar. So I've had that bet. It would be it's like a smaller interest, so I've had just the 25 quid on it. Wouldn't be one that I'm getting massively stuck into, but I definitely want to get her in the book. I think she's the right bet to have at this time. So let me know in the comments below what you think of it. It may not be for everyone. I'm sure it won't be. Do always drop a like though, because that's quite nice. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys again very soon.